just in case the stream key didn't switch over.
Are you on the dashboard? Like, can you see if it says
That might be a thing. What is your personal one? I'm sorry.
/Sender Ascendant.
Cinder. That's right.
Welcome to episode 29 of Coin.
That's 29. That's not 30.
Nope. I should be.
Mask looks cool though.
No, there you go.
Oh my gosh, you still had my box up.
There we go.
It's live on Coin Concede podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
look
is.
good.
Awesome.
All right.
I think we're all set to go. So I'm gonna start going pretty soon here.
Yep.
Oh, and we're leaving pauses between where we would normally have the buffers or bumpers.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
Just
if
to
it's
put them in
quiet, you'll know
afterwards.
why. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Alrighty, I think we're all set. Welcome to episode 30 of Coin Concede, a podcast about Hearthstone. My name is Kenny, and all the way from Thunder Bluff, Louisiana, we have Jace, aka Cinder, with us. Cinder, what's up? What's new?
Cinder. Kenny, it is very hot in Thunder Bluff today because Thunder Bluff's air conditioning is not working. So I'm gonna show my glowy, cool head up on the top of the desk for today.
It looks cool with the eyes. Hopefully the people that are joining the live stream or even the VOD will get a chance to see that. It'll be
it's
fun
like
to see.
a paladin Tauren.
The best kind of Tauren, thank you.
All right, and the voice you heard all the way from Undercity, Georgia, we have Andres. Andres, what's new with you?
Hey, Kenny. Not much, man. Just chilling. I've actually been playing a little Hearthstone this month, trying all the quests done, getting some gold, and of course, as always, overwatching like crazy.
Of course. I still have yet to play with you. Every time.
Yeah, man, we got to do a good session.
I was going to mention something else because I want to try something else with you too, but I'll probably mention it later. So, no further ado, we have another person who hasn't been on in a while, all the way from Orgrimmar, Illinois. We have Cora. Cora, welcome back.
Hi guys, it's good to be back.
Woohoo!
Yeah,
I don't have the cheer noise, but I'll do it mentally.
I can imagine it. It was wonderful. No, yeah, it's been a busy couple of months, but I'm happy to be back, and yeah, it's great to finally meet you guys. And this is the first time I've actually been on a podcast with you all. So
yeah, it's great to
really
finally
excited.
meet you.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, so fun. Okay.
It'll be nice to have your voice back, literally your voice, but to have your metaphorical voice too.
Well, I'm happy I can help. I still don't have the Overwatch beta, so if you guys are making like Overwatch inside jokes the entire time, I'm gonna understand nothing because I haven't played it. But I've been playing a lot of Hearthstone, so I'll be helpful for the reason that we're here.
You have school and DJ and Hearthstone.
It's a busy time.
Yeah, very busy life. So, broadcaster, Hearthstone broadcaster, hitting legend, DJing, and going to school.
And I'm in an a cappella group, and I'm in an extracurricular choir, and that's about it.
I do none of those things.
I sort of have friends. Yeah, I guess I have some friends. Occasionally I sleep. I have pretty good hygiene. You know what? It's a busy life. But I gotta make time to talk about the game that I play. So
very important.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's why I'm here.
No, I just want to mention real quick here. I had the chance to see Cora epically get legend last season.
Oh God!
Do you want to tell us about that?
Okay, so last month would have been March. So in early March, I was in California for the Winter Championships. Then the week after that, I was in Indianapolis and Nashville. Then I came back to Illinois for 2 days. This was my spring break from college between terms. And then I came to, then I went to Wisconsin with my a cappella group to visit one of the old presidents of the group because she moved and got a job and graduated and everything. And she's one of my best friends. So we went out there. And so I was in Illinois for 2 days of my spring break. And then I started back a new school term. This is week 3. So 2.5 weeks ago, I started my spring term for college. And it was like well, it would have been the 29th when I like actually sat down to Hearthstone. I was like, I am rank 7, and it's the 29th. And I've gotten Legend every month for almost the last year. So I'm like, I can't break the streak. It's like ingrained in me now. I need pride points for myself. So I was like, okay, I can do this. I didn't have much time the first couple of days, and then it came down to the very last day, and I'm like, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to get it. I'd gone from like rank 5 to 2 back down to 5. It was the very last day, and I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I turned on the stream. I played from 5 to 2 in like 3 hours. I wasn't expecting it. And I was like, okay, I have to go to work now. But when I come back, I'm going to have an hour and a half to play. Can I get from 2 to Legend? And I got there with an hour and 9 minutes left in the season. I hit Legend. And I was like, all right, I'm going to bed. I'm done. An hour and 9 minutes left in the season. I hit Legend. I went to bed. And now I actually just hit Legend about 20 minutes ago. So I'm like, you know what? This season, I'm not waiting until there's an hour left in the season. I'm going to do it early. And I did it. So it's very stressful, but it's a fun story to tell the kids if they ever care about Hearthstone. So we'll see if, kids happen.
That was a drop the mic moment for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Putting us all to shame over here.
Because it was like, I was literally like, you know what, I'm just going to turn on the stream, and if I get there, great. It's not going to happen, though. I had no faith at all. I was like, this sucks. This is not going to work. And I did it. And I went to class next morning. And
I was trying not to jinx you. I was watching I figured every game you were playing was your final boss.
I played against the final boss 4 times.
Yeah, it was
4 times, Kenny. It was torture. It was awful.
I was sweating bullets for you. I was watching the whole time. I forget what I was multitasking with my son or something, but yeah.
I had like 4 or 5 people spectating. No, but then I just realized, because I was lazy and I hit Legend with Secret Paladin again this month, and I'm like, this is the last month I'm going to be able to play Secret Paladin. And then like shed a couple internal tears, but then I had to turn on Skype and get to the podcast. I'm like, okay, I'll cry about this later.
Well, technically you can still play it. You just have to do it in wild.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to learn some more decks. Oh God. But no, so it's great to be back. It's great to be hanging out with you guys, and I'm excited.
Yeah, it's good to catch our listeners back up, and even those new ones that maybe some of our new hosts brought over to listen to us now. So let's go ahead and, before we get into the next section, and if you have any questions during the show, tweet at us, Concede, or ask in Twitch chat, and we may be able to read them later. Mention it. We'll try and mention you as much as we can. So let's go straight into the news. All right, and the first thing I want to mention for the news is Blizzcon. The dates were announced for November 4th and 5th. Tickets go on sale April 20th for $199 each. Now, first thing I did was I went into my work. I made sure that the time was available. I know it wasn't earlier this year, but it became available later, and I instantly picked that up off. So I'm going to be there whether I get in BlizzCon or not, just because I live in Southern California. Any plans for any of you to try and come out? I know a lot of you live far away, so it's a little bit harder.
Yeah, no, my wife and I usually make an annual trip to Dragon Con over in Andres' part of the world.
Yeah, man. Next time you're over here, you should hit me up. We should go together.
Yeah, it may not happen this year because she's going to Harry Potter World with some of her friends, and that's not my jam. So I'm gonna work, and she's gonna
that's
go.
That's not your jam. Are you kidding me?
It's not. I can't help it. So, but yeah. So if Dragon Con happens, then BlizzCon's probably out of the picture.
BlizzCon has always been a dream of mine, but it's just so far away and it's so expensive, and you have to make so many arrangements around it, like booking the hotel so many months in advance and getting the tickets so many months in advance, that I just haven't been able to get it together to go over there. But hopefully, my plan is 2017 or 2018, I'll be there, baby. BlizzCon.
I can't wait to see you, meet you in person.
Nice. That would be great.
I would love to be there. I don't know. I will actually have graduated by that point, so I could be at BlizzCon. I'd rather be casting BlizzCon, but we'll see what happens. So I don't know. I have hope. but we'll see.
cross
It's
our fingers.
expensive. It's far away.
It's very expensive and far.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like competition to go there, right? Everyone
Mhm.
wants to go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hard to get tickets.
Yeah.
Cool. Next thing is Tempo Storm returns to meta snapshots. So, how long has it been since we've had a meta snapshot now? I can't even remember.
Well, how long
It's
have
been
I
a
been
while.
gone?
Well, the meta
Yeah.
snapshot has
It's
been
been a while.
looking like the same for a long time.
And it still looks
Yeah.
much the same as it did before. I mean,
It
does.
only to say that
Pretty
Control
fair.
Warriors kind of clawed up to the top, but that's about it.
Hmm.
Pretty much. I don't feel like there's much else to mention here. I mean, everyone's in anticipation for the next release here, hopefully
Yeah.
soon.
Mm.
All right, so the next thing we were going to mention, I think Cinder had you want to mention it a little bit? I think you know more about it than I would.
Yeah, so I am a novice coder, and that's generous. But there is a tool that someone has named the Sunwell. It is a JavaScript bit that you can plug into your CSS or into your web page, right? Your web page design. And it can call up any card in Hearthstone at any resolution that you want. So this kind of takes out the extra step of having to save the files in your local system and plug in all of the sizing into your object in CSS. Just makes content creation a lot easier if you're going to use cards in your online content. So it's a cool little tool. Check it out. It's totally free. Somebody wrote it because they had a need for it themselves. So check it
Yeah,
out.
it seems super awesome for anyone who's creating videos or any sort of like pictures of related to Hearthstone.
Yeah, seems like it would really come in handy. I just love when the community gets involved and actually builds things that other people can use, even though they're like, you know what, I want this, let's make it. And then they're not like selfish with it. They're like, maybe other people need this. And I just
Yeah.
think that's really cool. I really like
Yeah,
that aspect
absolutely.
of Hearthstone.
We have another one we're going to announce after our reviews of the cards, so we'll mention another thing that was brought through the community as well. I know we're kind of quickly going through the news. We went a little longer on the intro here, but we'll get to the next section after. We did have a developer Q&A transcript on, was it Hearthstone? So we linked it on the show notes. Go check it out if you're listening to this afterwards. One thing I wanted to mention from that, I don't know if you guys had a chance to really read it or go through that. There was Tim from PC Gamer that says, does the new set contain any other new keywords, such as the Cthulhu mechanic, but is there anything equivalent to discover or inspire? And Ben Brode actually said there isn't a bolded keyword in that way. There are some other mechanical sub-themes that we will be announcing closer to the release of the expansion. So I'm
Oh,
actually pretty
interesting.
curious.
So there's
They're
still
keeping
some
things from
hidden
us.
tricks, yeah. There's still some little things they reserved.
I was wondering if they were going to do something like that. I felt like that with some of the cards that were just seems like bad.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see this. All right, so let's go ahead and go into our tournament roles. Cinder, you want to go ahead and take over for us?
Yeah, let's do it. So there were a lot of tournaments going on this past week. I'm going to pick apart a couple of the big ones that happened. And I didn't. It is Monday. We usually record on Tuesday, so I have not had time to do the research on matchups and deck choices and stuff like that. So we're just going to skip the data for now. I'm just going to give you the results because we got quite a few that went on. First one we're going to get into is the Southeast Asia Singapore Major. Last week we talked about Copa America, which is an offline LAN tournament that happens in Brazil. This is kind of the same thing. This is a local tournament specifically for Singapore, but it does draw in a lot of big players from around Asia Pacific, excluding China. It's a 3-day tournament with about the equivalent of $5,000 on the line, and it is a major. So 15 HCT points to the winner, 10 for second, 5 for third, and then a few more down the line. It was, since it is a major for the HCT, it follows Conquest format, best of 5 with a ban, double elimination bracket. And through the bracket comes a Singapore local and a totally unknown player by the name of Cian Haf. And this name has not shown up in any tournaments, any major events recently, with the exception of the Asia Pacific Winter qualifiers. but he blazed a trail through this tournament, you guys. I took a look at the players that he beat on the way to the top, and top-notch players. Almost all of the names that he beat were names you're going to see on the top rankings on any esports website. And he came away with the 15 points, beating. Let's see. My notes are, he beat fellow Singaporean and very well-known Asia-Pacific player Shiny Pants, or Shiny P as he's going by now. So this he's going to be one to watch in the future for sure. His only loss in the main bracket was to Waning Moon, another very well-known name. He lost 3-2, but he later beat him on the way back through the brackets 3-0. Full sweep. So he took
impressive. That
information that he got, and really made a showing of it. So he's going to be I think he's going to be a name to watch. I think he'll probably be in the spring championships if I had to guess.
Oh yeah, with 15 points, absolutely. And just going down, looking at the list, Shiny Pants is very, very well known on ladder. Waning Moon, Handsome Guy, Tom60229, all really well known, very highly respected players. So that's a big deal. The last time we saw something like that happen was really Nias at the Americas Championship last year, was sort of the one that came out of nowhere, that nobody knew what was going on, and he made it to BlizzCon. So that was, him, and then I guess sort of Snail at the Americas Championship this year. So definitely Cyan Half, that's really impressive.
Yeah, and not only an impressive record, but with the Asia Pacific, the strong players are very strong. So all of the places from 8th on up went to those names that you mentioned. Handsome Guy we just talked about recently. So I think we just lost Andres.
We lost him. I don't know where to find him.
Hopefully he'll be back with us pretty quickly. Now the next thing we talked about last week was the Gold Series. Now this is the qualifying tournament that happens in China. They're currently in their spring season. Up and coming will be summer, and then a last call before we get to BlizzCon. After the final bracket finished this past week, first place and the HCT seed will go to Breath from Team Celestial. If anybody who's following the tournament scene knows Team Celestial. This was put together by Tiddler, right? Is that right, Cora?
Yeah.
I think Tiddler put together Team Celestial last
year. Tiddler's full name is Tiddler Celestial, yeah.
There you go. Breath is arguably, one of the top 5 players in the Chinese meta for sure. So seeing him and seeing Team Celestial make a strong showing at Gold Series, probably not a surprise to anybody. Second through fourth go to Nightwalk, Zhang Bo, and Love CX. Again, these are like top 3, top 4, top 5 players in China. With as big as Gold Series is, it's interesting to see that these players who are ranked very high continue to float to the top of the Chinese circuit. They get some points towards the future seasons of Gold Series, so likelihood of seeing these strong players again, very, very high.
Yeah, and if you guys haven't checked out the Gold Series streams, it's actually some really good stuff. I believe D2 does a lot of casting on Gold Series.
He does.
And really, really impressive. Not a lot of viewers usually. Obviously, it's harder for the North American and Europe players and fans to really understand the Chinese circuit. And the Chinese circuit's a little bit removed from North American Blizzard Hearthstone Championship Tour and things like that. But if you get a chance, if you ever see it on Twitch, go and check it out, because they have some really interesting play styles. A lot of the decks are just slightly different, sort of like the Latin American style. There's things that they just do differently there, and it's really interesting to watch the play, and it's some pretty good production. So I like to tune in every once in a while. It's pretty cool.
And final tournament we're going to report on. We've been reporting on this one. This is Copa America that's happening in Brazil right now. They just went through their second round of qualifiers. Now, we talked about this last week. It's over 800 people entered this huge tournament bracket. And they broke it into 4 different groups, and 2 players come out of each group to get to the final, the top 8 at the end of this particular season. The 2 qualifiers are local players, Irvin G and Diego Diaz. Both of these are local team players. They're not internationally known yet, but they're regulars in their local scenes. They're well known inside of Latin America, so no surprises with those two. Third and fourth place. Third goes to Snail. Cora mentioned Snail earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Snail we saw at HCT Winter, and even though he didn't do very well, and he kind of washed out, I think mostly due to nerves, Snail's story was interesting because he was the one player in the Americas region who came through the Tavern Hero program. And he actually beat Nostum to get to the Winter Championship. And if we roll back the clock a little bit, Nostum and Amnesiac played in the finals, and Amnesiac took that series, but Nostum had the better record between the two in that tournament. And Nostum only got in because Ladder God Fibonacci could not come down to make the event, so Nostum came in as an alternate. So the fact that Snail beat Nostum to get into the ACT championships last time tells me that he's a very strong player. And here he is once again, very strong finish in a very large, very difficult tournament in Copa America Qualifier 2. So I'm very encouraged that Snail's doing well. I think we'll see him again in spring or summer because he's racking up HCT points in local tournaments.
Yeah, he's such a nice guy. Everybody, all the players at HCT were really, really great guys. Snail, obviously, he was the only Tavern Hero. He was the less experienced guy, but he came in and he was really passionate. You could tell he really wanted to be there. And some of the plays, obviously, not great. He definitely had some misplays in his Patron Warrior game. But I think the first day he did win his first match. I can't remember if it was versus Amnesiac. It might have been, I think he 3-0'd someone, but maybe it was even Nostum. It was a long time ago. It's been very busy since then. I can't honestly remember who it was, but I know he made it through to day 2, so there was a chance he was going to be in the top 4. Yeah, really cool guy. And then Diego Diaz plays in a lot of open qualifiers on Striveware, things like that. So definitely players you want to look out for. Latin American scene is not generally seen as as good as North America. But I think that's starting to change. I think we're starting to see players that are coming out as really very strong players, regardless of the region that they're from. So I'm really excited to see that. I think it's more than about time.
I absolutely agree, and that's why I'm focusing on Copa America, because all of the strongest players from Latin America are coming through these brackets, and a lot of them are making waves. So I think this is going to be a big tournament to watch in the coming weeks.
Yeah.
But that's going to do it for tournament reports. Kick it back to you guys.
Unless you want to talk about the Archon House Cup.
Have you guys been watching that? I just catch a little bit. It's a really fun tournament. It's always very laid back.
It was fun to watch. I love Jeoparino, so that was sort of my thing. I love Jeoparino. I love Arena too, so it was definitely a more casual tournament. And frankly, I was just happy to see Chalky finally get a win. Like, was anybody else rooting for Chalky as hard as I was?
I'm a big fan of Chalky. I'm a fan of his playstyle, the aggressiveness, and he's generally perceived as kind of like the bad guy, but he's a good guy that is just there to win and do his thing, right?
He's a nice guy. He really is. He's from Indiana. I can't hate a fellow Midwesterner. And then I shared a shuttle back with him from the hotel to LAX, and he's a really cool guy. It was about time that he got a win, even if it's not the most legitimate tournament. He earned it, so I had fun watching it.
I always remember, I think it was on the first Blizzcon where he got to play, and he just pulled out his little blanket. He was like, I don't care. I'm just going to sit there here comfortably and play my game. I thought that was so cool.
Very.
All right. Anything else you want to add about that, Cinder? I know you watched a little bit of it. You really?
I will say something positive. One of the things I really, really enjoy are deck building events. I know Red Bull put one on. There was a team arena draft. That was one of the coolest experimental shows that I've seen in a long time. But I love deck building. I love watching experienced players go through the thought process of selecting cards and then starting to form a strategy around cards, and then sometimes that strategy having to change based on what's coming through the draft. So any event where that happens, I'll find some enjoyment out of it. But hopefully in the future, Amaz can raise the bar on the production, because I love the idea. The idea was great. It just needs a little work on the execution.
I really wish that there was a little more emphasis in like sealed tournaments. I don't know if you guys ever played Magic,
Sure.
but in Magic,
Mhm.
they're like one of the most popular formats is you just go to the place, you get handed 3 boosters, and you open those boosters, and you rotate those boosters between like the people you're playing with. But basically, you pick one card each time, and you build a deck from scratch, right? Just from like the cards that you open in those boosters. There's no, you don't bring your collection, no anything. It's all about deck building, you know, knowing what cards are good, what cards synergize, and like spotting them right there on the spot. And it's a really fun way to play because everyone kind of starts from an even playing field and is as much as luck as it is skill in picking the cards. And you don't have that in Hearthstone. I mean, in Arena you can do it, but you can't really do it against your friends, or if you, there's no really tournaments around it. There's been some Arena tournaments, but they've been pretty limited in what they can do just because the client just doesn't support that sort of thing. I would hope to see a little more of that. I think it's really fun. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Yu-Gi-Oh! Had something sort of similar for a while. They had battle packs, which you would go and you would buy in for like $20 and they would give you 5 packs and you sort of build your deck from that. So very similar to Magic the Gathering. It didn't take off quite as well in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Scene, but it was sort of the same idea. I think that the Red Bull Team Brawl is pretty much the closest we have to sealed draft using the Tempo Storm tool at this point, which I think is a really, really cool tool for the community. Like you just see people on Twitch just doing show matches with it because it's really fun. So I really like where it's going at this point. I think it needs maybe a little bit more of a push, but the Tempo Storm tool was a really good start.
For sure.
Cool. talking about
Yes.
we were going to talk about well, we don't have, to be frank, we don't have the time to talk about this. We were going to add explanations for this week, but since we have 4 of us talking about some of the card reviews that we're going to be going over next, we're going to save the deck building talk for some other future episode closer to when we have the release.
It'll be relevant at the end of the month, I feel.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we can talk about quadrant theory, maybe like how to analyze specific cards. You know, that would probably be helpful.
Great. So at this point, I actually want to take some time to mention that some changes we're going to go through. So episode 30, we have Cora back. When we release the podcast, we're going to update our Twitch. We're going to update our Patreon. All of this is going to take effect. A lot of this has to do with some of our logo that you see on Twitch right now has been worked on with Cinder. And we've been getting some good comments on it, and I'm excited to get a lot of stuff changed, updated. So if you want to, please leave a review. Let us know what you think of any changes, what you like of our new group, our dynamic, whatever you'd like to say. We would appreciate any reviews. Stitcher, iTunes, whatever you want to do. So that being said, let's go ahead and go straight into our card analysis. All right, the first, well, ladies first. I think we're going to go first card.
Gosh.
Legendary. We're going to have a 7-mana 7/7 Cho'Gall Battle Cry.
Cool.
The next spell you cast this turn costs health instead of mana. Cora, what do you think?
I really like Cho'Gall. So 7 mana 7/7 is sort of the standard stat line. We're hoping Big Game Hunter's going to get a nerf, so 7 mana 7/7 might not be terrible coming up in standard. And then essentially, this is a Warlock class legendary, so you're looking at the best possible Warlock spells to use with it. So Siphon Soul immediately is incredible because it's essentially Assassinate for 3 health instead of any mana, which is really, really good.
Yeah.
I think it's important to note that you have to play the spell on the same turn that you play Cho'Gall, so you can't delay turns, which is, I mean, that honestly would be kind of broken, because if you play Cho'Gall, then you just wait like 3 turns to play Twisting Nether or something like that. That's a little bit too much. So
that's important to say, though, because it's not obvious from the card that you have to cast it that turn.
Yeah, it does specifically say the next spell you cast this turn. So like you kind of have to. But it's not obvious. That's the thing. Like it says it, but you don't notice it, if that makes sense, which is kind of weird. But like you really have to zone in on that, because you have to think, okay, what can I play on the same turn that I play this? Siphon Soul is probably the best, highest mana cost. Shadow Flame is really good. Hellfire is not terrible, but then like the lower you get, like Dark Bomb for 2 health that's not bad. Power overwhelming, eh. So there really are only a couple of cards that are really, really good to use with it. But I think it has a lot of potential, and I think it's going to be really good. I like
If
it
you
a
take
lot.
this guy on standard too, on wild, it becomes pretty wild because you can do this implosion. It'll be kind of like a Doctor Boom effect plus kill a
Or
creature
Bane
possibly.
of Doom would be really good too.
Yeah,
Bane of
I
Doom.
think this
I
card
love
is,
Bane of
is
Doom.
very good. It's a huge tempo swing, right? Is play a huge threat and then play a great spell for free. Because you, as a warlock, honestly, most of the time you don't really care about the health anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're kinda
Andres and
playing
I
with it
talk
already.
about power spike turns a lot. Turns where you can both create presence on the board and then shift the tempo in your favor. This is the kind of card that's going to allow you to do that. Yes, it costs you some health, but so would an Arcanite Reaper hitting something on the board. If I'm playing Warrior, so there's always going to be the health
and-
is available as a resource.
Yeah,
for
health
creating
is just
tempo
another
swings.
resource, right? As long as you're not
Yeah.
dead, health is there to use however you want it.
It's very interesting. I'll have to agree with Sir Slips in the chat here. He's definitely way more cooler of a design than Wilfred Fizzlebang.
Agreed.
Poor Wilfred Fizzlebang.
I feel like he'll get more play than Mr. Fizzlebang.
Absolutely.
So let's move on to the next one. It's a 3-mana spell. It's Spreading Madness. Deal 9 damage randomly split among all characters. And this is a rare. Andres, what do you think about this card?
This is a very interesting card. It's like the closest we're gonna get to the Maddest Bomber, right?
Yeah.
That's what I tweeted
It's
when I
like the
saw
next
it.
step up, but without the creature. It's like, I don't know. Depending on how the board state is, this card can be really good in your favor. Like if your opponent has a lot of cards in there, a lot of minions on their board, and you don't have as many, then obviously your chances of doing something really good with it might happen. But as long as the board state is the same, you have like a 50-50 chance. Maybe because it's 9, it's a little skewed, but of dealing the same damage to you as your opponent. So I don't know if the randomness is gonna make this card competitive. It's gonna make it really fun, and it's gonna make for some hilarious moments for people who decide to use it. But just because it can hit you, I don't know if the competitive crowd is gonna embrace it.
I think it kind of it depends on what the meta is going to be. If it's an aggressive meta, this card could be really good. So like looking at it right now, this card's very anti-paladin. It's very anti-hunter. And that's not bad. Like you see a lot of that on ladder right now. So depending on the meta, I think this card could get some use.
Yeah, and something I've noticed
that plays small minions, like against a lot of hordes of small minions, it would be good.
Mhm. Yeah.
And something I've noticed with the new set is there seems to be an increased emphasis on tokens and token generation.
Yeah.
So if that becomes a running theme in standard, then spells like this may see some use. But I think the randomness is probably going to shy people away from it.
The one cool thing I do like about this card is that I think they're shying away from just like hard AoE counters to all these things, right? Like when you play a full board and your opponent just plays one spell and gets rid of everything, for sure can be quite devastating. But this card kind of still gives a chance for the attacker to maybe have that little luck and be like, oh, okay, my board didn't get wiped. And the cost is pretty low, right? Like it can still be a huge tempo swing in your favor if it hits the right things.
Yeah.
It's a big tempo swing, but it's very conditional. So it depends on what you're seeing in the meta as far as ladder too.
Mhm.
I don't know about competitive play on in tournaments and stuff, but I don't know. All right, so let's move on to the next legendary we have. It's a 10-mana 7/5. Yogg Saron, Hope's End. Battlecry, cast a random spell for each spell you've cast this game. Targets chosen randomly. Now, to preface this, before the show, I have to say, this is my fault. Reading this, I thought it meant cast a random spell for each a random spell of yours that you casted that game.
Oh.
So this has actually seemed much better than I originally thought. So Cinder,
much worse.
let's start with you first.
Oh, man, there's so much to say about this card. It is easily one of the
Nuts.
coolest cards in the set. And you know what's funny is there are a lot of people who are commenting on the card who are like, oh, randomness, oh, RNG, you don't know what you're going to get. Some very fortunate, very time-blessed soul he created a simulator in Excel, which I admit I have also done for other games. It's not hard. But he ran tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of simulations and came out with some averages. And he discovered that you are much more likely to damage your opponent and your opponent's hero and cards than you are yourself. And you end up drawing a lot of cards. Like Yogg-Saron, like they're just how many spells draw cards, you'd be surprised how many actually pop up. So his going off the card, 10 mana, 7/5, stats aren't great. That's like Baron Geddon, right? At the 10 slot. So not great. Then there's a decent chance he's going to blow himself up with the whole thing of spells that he casts. But I really think there's a possibility for Yogg-Saron to be a huge swing card. Like if you're ahead, you don't play him. If you're behind and you got nothing else,
He's
you
your
slam this
YOLO.
guy down and you just pray to RNGesus and see what happens. Because there's a good chance that the board state's going to completely change once he plays. And also, if Bran is on the board, he triggers twice.
Oh my god.
Yep.
He's literally YOLO Saran.
Yeah,
like that's,
pretty much.
That's it. That's what
Yeah.
it is.
Like,
it's important
honestly,
to know-
there's no way to know what's going to happen when you
Yeah.
play this guy.
No, and it's important to know that even if like you play Yogg-Saron and he fireballs himself, he still will finish the chain. So he'll keep casting all of the spells. And so far, I believe Blizzard employees have only pyroblasted themselves in the face 5 times. So I think that's pretty good. I think it's pretty good news. It's not a lot.
This is confirmed by development. They said they have a scoreboard for exactly that statistic.
That's funny.
Pyroblasted themselves in the face 5 times. But the first time you pyroblast your opponent in the face 3 times,
Ugh.
like
And
there can't
that will
possibly be
happen.
anything better.
It's a small chance, but it will happen.
Dude, the trolled in videos are gonna be so good.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
I think it was this guy Stos who posted this card and said, I guess Trollden just secured job security for the rest of his life.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah,
This is
congrats,
actually
Trollden.
This is the point I want to mention. Actually, this was the thing I was mentioning earlier as far as a community-based thing. Cinder found this Yogg-Saron simulator. I'll go ahead and link it in the Twitch chat right now, actually. But yeah, check it out. It actually you can punch in the number of spells that you've casted, and whether you're in wild or standard, and just hit the button, the summon Yogg-Saron, and it'll spill out that many random spells and a brief summary of the effects. Cinder, you want to kind of go off that a little bit more? I know you had some more statistics.
Well, it's any one instance is going to be totally random. If you look to the other guy who did his Excel simulations, you're going to see like the averages. But it's really fun to just hit that button and see what happens. I can't tell you how many times. Like I think there was one time I hit the button for like 12 spells and I drew something like 12 cards. It was ridiculous. And like it was like
God.
summon. Force of nature, and then doomed it. It drew like at least 4. Hammer of Wrath drew another card. Sprint came out. I'm like, oh my lord. So this really is the YOLO card. If you just want to put that emergency eject button in your deck, go for it.
You're at 1 health. You've got literally nothing, Yogg-Saron.
Yep.
Like, what's keeping you from doing it? Oh, it's so fun.
All right, so I think we kind of mashed that one down. I'm actually pretty excited with it. The Old God seems like a really cool concept, and I'm excited to see all the ones and how they interact and work.
For sure.
So far, I like them.
Mhm.
All right, so the next one here is an 8-mana spell, hunter spell actually. Call of the Wild, summon all 3 animal companions, period. And this is an
This card is
epic.
insane.
I love how vicious those animals look as they're coming out of that explosion.
They're not vicious. They're happy.
Yeah,
Look how
they're
happy
happy.
they are.
They're happily vicious. Look at their
The
mouths.
card art is telling you that Misha and Leok are useful too.
Yeah.
It's not just Huffer.
It's
Yeah.
if you're not looking at the card right now, if you just pause this podcast and go look at the card because the art is fabulous.
It's really
It's Leok, Misha, and Huffer running or flying out of an explosion. It looks like something out of a Michael Bay film. It's fantastic.
It's really cool.
I didn't know the animal companions were in Transformers. No, but
Power
seriously,
Ranger.
like this card is so good. Like if Blizzard is trying to make Control Hunter, this could be the card that does it. So all the animal companions for 3 mana are overpowered. They're better than 3 mana would normally be. And now they're putting all 3 of them together for 8 mana, which is an even bigger discount. Like that's a big deal. And then they also come out, the confirmed summoning order is alphabetical. So it comes out Huffer, Leok, Misha.
So it literally is Huffer every time.
It's always Huffer first. So even if you have 5 minions on board, you can play Call of the Wild and still have the confirmed 5 damage from Huffer because of the Leok buff. So it's just so good. It's just so good.
It's really good. Yeah, this card gives you immediate 5 damage. It gives you a card that gives +1 to any creature they have on the board. So buffs all of your board. And on top of that, it gives you a 4/4 taunt, as if the other stuff wasn't enough. And you can guarantee this, right? So you can set up a board position that is adequate for that. You can even use it to finish off your opponent. If you're just 5 away, boom, do it with this. Hero power, that's 7 damage. I think it's so versatile. Like the more situations I try to think of this card, the better it gets. And honestly, even if you have an empty board, just playing this card is good enough for 8 mana.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one of the reasons Dr. Boom is so good is because he was really 3 cards in one. One of the risks of playing any high mana card, particularly a minion, is that there's a chance that it's going to get removed. Dr. Boom, Execute, Siphon Soul, all of these single target removals that can take that expensive card off the board and you just wasted your turn and your mana. This summons 3 minions guaranteed if you have the room for it on the board, and like Cora said, they're all really good for 3 mana, so you're getting them for 2.67 mana each by casting this card. I mean, it creates immediate board presence, it creates an immediate effect with Huffer hitting the board, and if you've already got something on board, Leok buffs it, and you've got Misha standing in the way at a 5/4 taunt. It's such a good card. This is not even for Control Hunter, just mid-range Hunters.
I was about to
All
say
Hunters
that.
are going to
Like,
love
you
this
mentioned
card.
Control Hunter, but this card almost speaks to me like mid-range Beast Hunter is just so powerful and so synergistic with all your other beasts, right?
Yeah, I mean, the mid-range hunters don't really have an 8-drop right now. You have 2 high mains and a Dr. Boom, and then that's kind of where you end.
Yeah, you
Dr.
top out
Boom's
at
gonna go
Savannah High Main, and Dr. Boom is really, I mean, that's arguable.
And Hunter has kind of fell a little bit by the wayside, right? Like Face Hunter is still kind of a thing, especially in tournaments when people want to be very aggressive with their lineups. But on the ladder and stuff, especially at the higher ranks, you rarely see Hunters anymore.
Camel Hunter, what? So good.
Sometimes
Best
we're not going to talk about Camel
ever.
Hunter.
compared to what Hunters used to be, they're kind of rare right now.
Yeah,
Well, I'm
I
still
played
here.
mid-range a little bit this month. It was pretty good. It's not bad. But I think this card could actually push it into being one of the dominant decks again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See it.
Agreed. You guys covered everything I was going to say, so I'll move on. All right, the next one's going to be a 1-mana 1/1 Possessed Villager common card. Death Rattle, summon a 1/1 Shadow Beast. It's a Warlock card, actually.
I think this card is actually good. I think especially for a Suish style of deck where you're trying to find disposable dudes kind of like a Haunted Creeper to just buff him and trade up and that sort of thing and keep your board full. As a 1-drop, this guy is nice. Obviously, the later in the game you get, the worse it gets, but I would guess you would usually be looking for this guy turn 1.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't have a drawback for playing him late in the game. Like, if you play Flame Imp late in the game and you lose that 3 health, that could be really damning. But this guy, he's fine. He's 1/1 for 1.
He's
pops
not,
out
he's
another
not
1/1.
mega impressive, but is useful for decks that are looking for that sort of strategy.
Yeah, he's sort of akin to Argent Squire in the case that he's good in the early game, and if you play him in the late game, he's not good, but he's not damning you. Whereas Zombie Chow is so good in the early game, but terrible in the late game when you're trying to close out the game. And then Flame It can just kill you if you play it late.
Yeah.
So this guy is, maybe not as impactful in the early game, but much better in the late game.
I think Argent Scar is a good comparison because this effect is almost like having the Divine Shield, except that it's a Death Rattle, which might synergize with other things. But
Mm.
honestly, you don't want to be summoning with this guy with Nasoth later or that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they're thinking of this card as a replacement for some Zoo Lock cards that will be losing, like the
Yeah.
Haunted Creeper and stuff. So,
Yeah,
Makes
that's
sense.
my guess.
all right. Next card is a 7-mana spell, Wisps of the Old Gods. It's an epic. Choose one, summon 7 1/1 Wisps, or give your minions 2/2.
Guys, I
Cinder,
thought
let's
this
go.
card was. I thought this card was a joke when I first saw it. I'm just gonna throw that out. Cinder, feel free to. You give your
Man.
opinion. I thought this card was a troll.
Look, I know that I have many friends and a wife in the other room who disagree with me. I am just not a fan of puns. Okay, like a pun has to be really good to make me laugh, but most of these just make me roll my eyes and groan. Wisps of the Old Gods, really, Team 5? You're killing me.
But it's funny.
Stop it! Just stop it. Okay, so so 7/1/1 tokens for 7 mana is very underwhelming. You have to have an empty board just to get the full value out of the first half of this card, which is and even if you did, it's immediately susceptible to any number of cheap AOE. I kind of have a sneaking suspicion that there's going to be some other card in the set that interacts specifically with Wisps, so maybe that might happen. The other half, the +2/+2, I've said it many times, but I'm not a fan of cards that are only good when you're ahead. So not, especially at 7 mana. Like I would never play that for 7 mana. So no.
I have mixed feelings about this card because we saw what happened with Dank Whispers, right? It wasn't that dank. It was
Dank
actually
Whispers.
yeah, it was actually pretty bad. Nobody ever found a use for that. But this card, as compared to Dark Whispers buffs one creature, right, and gives it taunt. And in Hearthstone, it's just very bad usually to put all your eggs on one basket. And if you're making one creature that big and spending that much mana and then get it removed is just such a huge tempo loss. But with this guy, you get more of a Scenarios effect, right? For 2 mana cheaper, and you give a permanent +2/+2 to all of your board. Depending on how that Beast Druid deck turns out to be, if you can actually build a solid board with it, and with Innervates and like the sort of wall growths and stuff that you can do with Druid, 7 mana tends to be a little earlier for the deck. It could be good, maybe in a token Druid. I mean, +2/+2 permanently is no joke, right? But it is a big mana investment that you have to do into it. We don't know what is happening to Savage Roar either. If that's getting reviewed, and if Savage Roar changes in any way, maybe the +2/+2 becomes a little more desirable. But I don't know. Like you guys said, it is kind of overcosted. But I'm going to reserve my judgment on this card until we see more of what Druid is going to become.
Yeah,
What do you think, Cora?
it's hard to pin this one. 7/1/1 Wisps for 7 mana. It's not overcosted. It's just incredibly underwhelming. For 7 mana, I want to be doing something more impactful. And then +2/+2, it gets points for versatility, which is nice. It's nice to have a card in your deck that can do 2 different things, 2 very different things. But if you want mass minion buffs, a token Druid is just going to play Power of the Wild. Like, give your minions +1/+1.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
It's still decent, and you can play it earlier with Violet Teacher, use it with the apprentices. So it's not even that the effects are that bad. It's just that it's not even that it's that overcosted. It's just it's so late game. It's going to be really hard to use with large boards when you get to that late point in the game, and your opponents can clear the board. So
exactly.
I don't know if there are cards that they're bringing out that will interact with Wisps. Maybe. And then the +2/+2 is just sort of for versatility. If the Wisps are the real focus, I can maybe see some sort of Wisp deck being not a thing, but being an option. And that would be pretty cool. I would like to see that. But with what we know right now, it's, I don't know. Like I said, I thought because of the pun, I thought it was a joke at first. And then I realized it wasn't a joke. And then I was like, oh.
Like you said, it's not a bad card, but you might be able to get the same effects from other cards a little better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Let's move on to the third legendary we have announced since the last episode. Well, we'll make this one for Andres since the other two started with one. It's a 9-mana, 5/9 Selgoth the Slitherer taunt. Can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. What do you think, Andres?
This guy just screams to me Ancient of War on steroids. This guy, when you play Ancient of War in your deck, it's such a good card and it works well, but you always just have that fear of playing it and just getting instantly removed and losing all that tempo immediately that you a lot of times just don't outright play it till the very end of the game. But this guy just kind of takes that out of the way, right? And you can play this guy safe and be sure that it's going to do exactly what you want to do, and your opponent is going to have to smash their minions into this guy. And that's the only way he's going to be able to get through. Maybe some AoE, but again, it's kind of inefficient to remove this guy with AoE. So I think it's good. Especially as a late game threat in a deck that is trying to defend themselves. Maybe a deck that's trying to be very controlly. Maybe even that Taunt Warrior that they've been trying to promote for a while. I think it's a solid card.
Yeah, I mean, I can maybe see it in like a Taunt Warrior, Taunt Druid, like a Wall Druid that can ramp to it easier just because it is so late game. The only real counter for it is something like Keeper of Uldaman, which is the minion debuff. But we don't know how prevalent Paladin will be after this. So that's really the only thing. That and Area of Effect removal, obviously.
Yeah, this card is definitely not immune to all the cards. It definitely has counters to it, but definitely has a lot less counters, making it immune to hero powers and spells.
Yeah, it's hard to pin for me. I don't know. Yeah, I kind of like it. I kind of like it in its simplicity, and I think that's something that a lot of legendaries don't have nowadays. Yeah, everything's becoming more Yogg Saranish, and this is just a very
it's a very
basic,
simple, straightforward defense card. That's it. That's what it is.
Yeah, I've kind of gone back and forth on it myself, kind of rolling it around in my head, and I think that the thing for me is every card selection when you're building a deck has to at least partially answer the question, how is this card helping you win? And this card is difficult to answer. It's certainly helping you not lose.
This card buys you time. That is what it's there to do, I feel.
But against what, though? Because an aggro deck will have killed you before turn 9 if it's successful in its strategy. So it's almost like, is it an anti-mid-range card? But then a mid-range card can roll over this guy pretty quickly. So I don't know.
Although in a deck that is meant to survive, turn 9 is very achievable in Hearthstone. And if you're dropping this guy in turn 9 and making any aggressive deck have to go through it, honestly, I don't know. It's like you said, it's hard to say, but it's situational. You're not gonna put this guy into any deck. It has to be a very late game, very controlled deck that's trying to stop board aggression, I feel.
Yeah, and I mean the 9 slot isn't something that you see a lot of. I mean, the only real playable 9s you have Draxus and Warlock, Ysera, which is in some control decks. It's mostly dragons on 9, and then like Rafam, which nobody really plays.
I play Rafam. Leave Rafam alone.
I was not bad-mouthing Rafam. I think Rafam might actually get some play coming up, so fingers crossed for Rafam. But no, I'm just saying the 9 slot isn't something that is incredibly utilized at this point. So even just to have an option, this is a nice basic option for the 9 slot.
Yeah.
And the way I see it is Ancient of War is a good card, and it sees play, and this is a better Ancient of War for 2 more mana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is, I forgot what you said it screamed as, Andres, but to me it screams just as a green Futurama Zoidberg.
Oh my god, it does look like that.
Fair point.
That's so funny.
I'm not hearing a no.
All right, on that cue, let's move on to the next card. This is a 6-mana spell, Thistle Tea. It's a rare card. Draw a card. Add 2 extra copies of it to your hand. Cora, is this a rogue card?
It's a rogue card.
Right?
Yep,
Yes.
It's a rogue class rare.
What do you think? 6 mana.
by itself, I don't think it's bad, especially since rogues have use of preparation. But when you compare it to sprint, it seems worse. You can prep sprint for 3 mana, or for 4 mana, excuse me, and that's really good. You get 4 unique cards, and if you Thistletea, you get 3 cards for 3 mana with a prep, but it's 3 of the same card. So if you Thistletea into 3 backstabs, okay, it's not bad, but it's not. I don't know. Sometimes you want variety when you draw. 3 of the same card isn't. I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's really hard to tell. Maybe in like a value rogue, you could use both Thistletea and Sprint, but that has to be like a very draw-oriented rogue. Yeah, good in Arena.
Yeah.
But I think just compared to Sprint, not great.
I think you're going to have people actually like literally sit down and think about every single card they put in this type of deck if they want to use this card. There are going to be people who are really smart that would sit down and actually think about the possibility of the draw and what the copies would do to the game and so forth. So, sorry, Cinder, you were going to say.
So my first thought was the same as Cora's. It's not sprint, because when you play sprint, you want to dig 4 deep into your deck. You want to get closer to your win condition. You want to put your combos together. But then I actually thought about this. This card would be really good in Mill Rogue. Yeah. Because with Mill Rogue, what you're trying to do is you're trying to play the Cold Light Oracle as many times as you possibly can. So you play him twice on its own, twice for Shadow Step, twice for Vanish, and then maybe 1 extra time for Brand Bronzebeard if he's in the deck, which he should be. And then you've got potentially 4 more hits with 2 Gang Up, right? So that's like 11 or 12 potential plays of the Cold Light Oracle. Yeah. With the Thistletea, if you draw any of those extra activators, you get to play them not 1 more time, but 3 more times. So I think this card is going to go straight into Mill Rogue, and it might be awesome. Maybe
I didn't even think about that. Oh my god!
I was gonna say exactly. Yeah, the only synergy I've been able to see so far with this card is with the Mill Rogue, especially because with Mill Rogue towards the end, a lot of them use things like Burgle to keep copying their little Murlocs, and then towards the end, you're pretty much guaranteed to have mostly Murlocs in that deck. So if you use Thistletea, for example, you're gonna get some more Cut Lights to keep milling your opponent, and it gives you virtual cards, right, that are not into your deck. Yes. So it kind of adds to that.
Yeah, one of the risks of playing the Mill Rogue strategy and running it, because you have to draw into your deck very quickly, and with their Sprint is definitely one of the tools they use to do that right now. And the risk there is that you get yourself ahead of the fatigue count, which is counterintuitive to what you're trying to do. You're trying to kill your opponent with fatigue from overdraw. So Thistletea gets around that because you're not drawing extra cards out of your deck. You're making new copies. So I think this is a clever way to kind of give Mill.
Yeah, I think it's a little tool for Mill. I think that they are slowly building a deck, and I almost want to bet that they don't want to make it into a standard deck, but more into a wild kind of thing, and slowly give tools so that eventually in wild they can have a fully fledged Mill Rogue. But I don't think they want this kind of deck in standard, because honestly, if Mill Rogue becomes a thing, it would be a very, very annoying ladder.
Yeah. I would agree.
That could be so cool. Oh man, I didn't even think
I would
of it.
Play it.
Okay, that could be so cool. I would watch that. I don't know if I could play it because I've never played Mill Rogue in my life, but I've watched it.
It's a fun deck.
And it's fun.
For sure.
I actually have a friend who ladders almost exclusively with Mill Rogue, and he's really good at it.
I bet he's excited.
There you go, Thistletea.
Oh yeah, like he plays during his lunch breaks only, and he usually gets ahead of me on ladder almost every month.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a side effect of exclusively playing one deck, though. You become very well informed with it.
All right, so we have one more card to go ahead and review here. It is a 4-mana, 1/1 Twilight Summoner. Epic card, Death Rattle. Summon a 5/5 Faceless Destroyer. Who wants to take this one? Not all at once.
This is okay. This is probably the first card of this whole batch that I'm actually not very excited about. I think if you want to have a 5/5 for 4 mana, why don't you just play like a 4/5 for 4 mana?
Well, I thought about a couple of ways that this guy could come into play, because just in a vacuum, it's a serious tempo loss, but with the investment of a tempo spike the next turn. So what I thought about was this guy on 4 ahead of a Grim Patron turn, where you go turn 5 or coin 6, and then hit Grim Patron plus Inner Rage plus a Whirlwind, and pops this guy, gets you your 5/5, and 4 Grim Patrons all at the same time. That's a pretty big board on turn 5 or 6.
Considering Deathbite's going to be gone from standard,
Right.
you need something to play on 4. That's not
Plus,
a bad
this
idea.
guy will also, he'll come back from N'Zoth, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
Potential late game value.
the way I see it's sort of like the start of a Nerubian egg replacement, just because it's definitely obviously a scale up.
I think.
But I don't know. I don't think it's terrible. The best way you look at it is it's potentially 6/6 worth of stats for 4 mana. Obviously, it's spread apart and it's situational, but
Yeah, the card is not bad. You definitely get more stats for the mana that you're spending. It is kind of a liability. Like you can get silenced and then you just spend 4 mana for a 1/1.
Yeah.
Obviously, your opponent on me wanted to save the silences for other stuff, but honestly, if I see the opportunity to have a silence, I'm taking it because good luck getting back from that afterwards. You're gonna have to have a really good turn. But I'm just not convinced if in the 4th turn I want to be doing this guy. It maybe on that Death Rattle deck, and that N'Zoth Death Rattle deck, that this sort of card might be good. The 1/1 does make it really uncomfortable for your opponent because pretty much anything kills it, right? You look at it, it might die.
It self-activates, basically.
Yeah.
You look at it funny and it's dead.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
The only thing I was going to say is I know I'm trying to think of what the other card was that was released earlier, but this would be something you would play along with things that copy your card. Again, it's 4 mana, so it's hard to
Raptor
say.
Rogue.
Exactly, Raptor Rogue.
Oh, okay. Well, now we're thinking about some stuff.
Bran, Unearthed Raptor, Twilight
But
Summoner.
in honesty, I did play a lot of Raptor Rogue, and the main problem that deck had was tempo, because
that's for
you're
sure.
playing very slow creatures, and honestly, if you're adding this guy to the mix on top of the Raptor,
Not gonna be good.
it's gonna be hard. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember what the other card was. I was looking for it, but I can't find it. But I thought there was something that copied it. Oh well. So that pretty much wraps up our card review. I do want to go over the emails real quickly here. Before we go over that, though, you can write into our show by sending an email to coinconcede@gmail.com. Or better yet, let us know if you guys would be interested in something different. If you'd like to... we're open to a Discord channel. We've already started one, and we're looking into getting people added to it. So let us know what you think about that. Let's go ahead and have Cinder go over our email, because it was actually directly sent to him.
Yeah. So I got a Twitch private message from someone who had stumbled onto our live stream of one of our episodes. And he messaged me directly looking for help. So I went ahead and gave him my email address. And his email says that he is looking for some help getting to Legend. I'm truncating a little bit for the stream here, but he says, it's the last month before Standard hits and time is ticking. I'm reaching out to you for some insight on my play and some tips to make the push to Legend. I'm an older professional with not a ton of time to dedicate to playing the game. Would you be willing to help an old fart play a kid's game? Keep up the good work, and I look forward to hearing from you. Dan C. So I emailed Dan back with a novella that had all of my advice on how to get to Legend. The short version is this. The first thing you want to do is start tracking your games. Not just to, for bragging rights or whatever. It's for collecting data. You need to know what deck you're best with. You need to know how good you are with it. because the next step is plugging that into a time calculation to see how long it's going to get you to take to get you from 5 to legend, because that's the grind right there. And once you figure that out, you can just budget your time for the month. Say, okay, if I need 20 hours, 30 hours worth of games, I'll play 2 hours a night for the next 15 days, or whatever that number ends up being. And if you do that correctly, then you get to legend, because legend isn't a measure of skill, it's a measure of time. It's a time commitment. And some of the things he described to me showed me that that's what was getting in the way. He was getting distracted by quests, or maybe he thought he heard a cool deck and he wanted to try that out, and his win rate would dip because of that. So he took that advice. He started tracking his deck. He started tracking his games. He played primarily Warlock Zoo, and his win rate was 70%. So I said, man, you're going to be fine. Just stay on the rails. Don't tilt. Just keep a level head. Don't worry about your rank. Just count the stars and stick to your time budget, and you will get there. A couple of days ago, he emailed me, said he's already at rank 6, which to me says he is well on his way to getting legend. So first, congrats, Dan. Good luck for the rest of the month. Keep us updated, because I would love to be able to say on the show that Concede got his first legend assist. I would be super proud to have that happen. So yeah, good luck, Dan. We hope to hear from you soon.
And Cora, I know you're our resident legendary player, so...
Oh, gosh.
Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, 5 to legend will always be a pain in the butt. It's going to be rough. And still, pretty much every month, I'll end up going from 5 to 2 really easily and being like, oh my god, I'm going to get there the next hour. This is a breeze. And then, the meta shifts really fast. And psychological, you take a hit. You take a hit from losing a few games in a row, and I'll drop back down to 6, and then I'll go back up to 3, and I'll drop back down again. And it sucks sometimes. Mm-hmm. So just really take breaks and don't pressure yourself, because if you put that much pressure on yourself, and if you make it this ride or die, life or death thing, then you're not going to enjoy it, you're not going to want to play, and that's just going to affect your mentality even more. So just try to have as much fun as you can. Really keep it in perspective that it is a game, and a loss, everybody's going to lose about 50% of the time. And then if you can just be confident with the fact that you know how to play the game, you know how to pilot your deck. A 70% win rate is incredible. A 70% win rate will get you to legend very fast. So just stay calm, have fun, and be confident, and you will get there.
That's a good point. Don't let it get to you, especially once you start getting up into the upper ranks. It's very easy to get what it's called as ladder anxiety. And you see you're shiny new rank, you're rank 3, you've never reached rank 3 before, and you're oh no, I don't even know if I want to play, what if I lose? If you want to get to legend, you just have to ignore all those things and keep playing the game, man. Just as if you were playing down at rank 10, keep playing at rank 3, and even if you go down, know that this is normal. Most players get to rank 2, then tank down to rank 5, go back to rank 1. They're so close, and then they get demoted to rank 3, and it's a struggle. But like they both said, it's a time commitment. As long as you're focused, you're taking your time to do the right plays. You're not rushing it and tilting, because that is the worst thing you can do. And you're keeping your cool. You should be able to get there.
Yeah, and in fact, with ladder anxiety, one of the things that I told Dan was, the rank is just counting the stars by 5. It's meaningless. It's an arbitrary number. The only thing you're worried about is actually counting the stars. How many stars do you have left to get there? And like you said, Andres, winning streaks and losing streaks are very common. In fact, somebody showed the math. If you have a 60% win rate, then the likelihood of you having a 3-game losing streak is something over 70% likely on every single session. It's extremely common. Mm-hmm. So just remember that it's a long grind. You're probably going to play a couple hundred games, so 3-game losing streak, whatever. You're going to make that up in no time.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I heard about that too. But yeah, definitely let us know how you do, where you're at. We'd love to see you at Legend. Keep in touch with us. And yeah, that pretty much wraps up the show here. We'll go with our outro here. So we have already solidified the goals and rewards for our Patreon page. Help us get to our first goal and make this podcast self-supporting. That would be lovely. I actually support a couple other podcasts, 2 Hearthstone podcasts and a non-Hearthstone podcast. But if you like what we are putting out there for everyone for free, I mean, we don't have to do any of that. But if you'd like to help support us and make this a little bit easier on our pockets, then great. Definitely go check it out at patreon.com/CoinConcede. Cora, you want to go through our thanks this week?
Yeah. So thanks to Stefan for letting us use his cover. You guys can check him out on his channel, which is linked in our show notes. And you can always catch our blog posts at coinconcede.com along with the show notes, which we have a lot of cool references in. We have links to pretty much everything we talked about, so make sure you go check those out. You can follow us on Twitter at CoinConcede, and you can like and share our Facebook page at facebook.com/CoinConcede. And you did just mention that we got a Discord. So I think we're going to link that afterwards. I don't know if we want to throw that in the show notes, but that's a really cool way for us to connect with you guys. So I guess if you want to join the Discord, let us know.
Yeah, we'll throw that on the show notes as soon as we get that updated and ready to go. We'll make sure we'll announce it next show as well. So, Andres, where can people find you?
If people want to find me, you can look for me on Twitters at iPlayGames. You spell that IPLAI Games. And you can recently find me streaming some Overwatch and occasionally some Hearthstone. Probably some more Hearthstone once Standard comes out. But for now, tons of Overwatch at Twitch TV/iPlayGames with a Z, because somebody got ahead of me and got my name first.
All right, and Cinder, how about you? Where can people find you?
So check me out on Twitter at Cinder Ascendant. That's pretty much where I interact with the Hearthstone world. My Twitch is the same, Cinder Ascendant. Oh, guys, Sunday on Twitch, just like we said last week, I got my 500 wins with Paladin, Golden Paladin.
Congratulations!
Nice.
Yes,
Congrats.
and just for Cora, the last game I won off of the Timepiece of Horror from Ravam against a handlock.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I did it live on
Congratulations,
stream. In fact, Dan from that email was hanging out with me, and he rode along with me to get to 500 wins. So it was great. So yes, come check me out on Twitch for more of that. It's a lot of fun.
Perfect. And Cora, where can people find you?
You guys can always follow me on Twitter at songbird_HS. I always like getting new followers. If you follow and you actually listen to the podcast, feel free to tweet at me or DM me. I'm really good about getting back to people. So I'd love to hear what you guys think. And you can always follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/SageCora. And I've been streaming a decent amount now. I've been pretty busy, so it's been a little bit scattered. I'm not on like a full schedule yet, but I'm trying to work up to it. So my stream's been going really well, so I hope to see you there.
Perfect. And I do want to give a shout out real quick to those that joined us live. It's good to see some newcomers, and I hope you enjoyed. It was a lot of fun to see you guys making comments in the chat. As far as myself, you can follow me at KCCO_gamer. I don't do Twitch as much as I'd like to, just because of the busy schedule, probably the baseball season, but you can also add me on Battle.net at KCCO Gamer 1752. So do let us know what you think, and I'm super excited to release all of the new visual part of our package for the podcast. So do get back to us and let us know what you think. Shout out to Cinder on that. Thank you so much for helping.
I got to do something around here.
You do a lot already. We appreciate it. All right, so last thing I want to say is keep calm and chive on, and until then, coin concede.
Coin concede.
Coin concede.